That's right. I've said it. Michigan State, lowly Michigan State, had a 4.5 win total. I've called it. They're going to upset my good friend Roman's Washington Huskies. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans. Over there, that strapping gentleman is Roman Tomashoff of Locked On Huskies. And folks, on today's show, we're looking into the future. The middle of November, probably a cold, probably rainy night in East Lansing. But yes, like a wrestler cutting a promo, being the heel to the crowd, I'm coming in, popping my chest. I'm coming in, flexing my muscles, which does sound ridiculous because I really don't think MSU is set for anything too special this upcoming season. But however, Roman, when I look out and I look at MSU's schedule, I'm looking at what the biggest upset could possibly be. And yes, I've circled it in the middle of November. You guys know where I'm going with this. I think against all odds, MSU will be beating the Washington Huskies. Before I get any further into my reasons, thoughts. Are you upset? Are you laughing inside right now? I gotta know what's going on in your head, Roman.
So there's a lot of schools of thought here, Matt. First of all, in the most loving way I can possibly say this, I think this is ridiculous. I don't think this is what's going to happen.
Sure.
Where in my preseason record prediction that I did over on Locked On Huskies, I have the Huskies going 10-2 this coming season.
You guys are good.
I'm feeling very excited about a lot of what Washington is putting together under Jedd Fisch with a lot of the young talent that they have that they're going to be able to bring to East Lansing. And I look at this match in particular, and I think what, Pat Fitzgerald, wants to do with all of this and what all this can look like going forward in terms of building through the trenches. Everything we saw him do at Northwestern. That's great. That's fun. That's what you want to do. I don't know if we're going to see that start this coming fall. I think that's going to take some time and a whole lot of patience. And so I look at it and I'm willing to hear you out. You know me. Sure. I'm very willing to hear you out and hear what you have to say. But this is one of those things where even though it is going to be a long road trip for Washington, I think that the way that, some of these road trips are going to go, Michigan State, Purdue being the other one in this kind of same vein of like, hey, that's going to be a long trip. Things could get a little weird. I don't know, this or that. I'm kind of like, no, I feel good about what Washington has and how this team has continued to improve since they joined the Big Ten.
I'm going full just college football fan right now because, this would make no sense. And it's not because I think Washington has some holes in their roster that we're just not seeing. No, you guys, unfortunately, you do return a lot of talent here. So my two biggest reasons here are a little off the field. Now, you kind of alluded to one is, it's the old talking point of, it's a road trip. Well, that's just exactly where we're going to start right now, Roman, because when I am looking at the schedule, and I looked at this for the last few months when these schedules came out, for your Huskies, it's at Nebraska, it's home against Penn State, it's at Michigan State, it's home versus Indiana, and at Oregon. What, respectively to my own team, believe it, I love Michigan State, but I can say it. One of those things does not look like the other right now as things stand on the college football landscape, and it is my Michigan State Spartans. We are a tier, if not 2 tiers behind some of those teams in the conference. And, I did a little bit of research here. I looked up your Washington Huskies, how they did crossing the Mississippi River last 2 seasons, Roman. Last year, when you guys crossed the Mississippi 3 times, you guys went 1-2.
Correct.
Although, narrow win against Maryland. You guys lost to Michigan and then lost to Wisconsin. A little bit of a stunner against the Badgers. Now, the season before, 0-3 traveling across the Mississippi. Now, that was at Indiana, at Penn State, 2 teams that were great, but also at Rutgers. So, in the world of college sports being professionalized, I still think that traveling really does still matter to a college team, and I'll believe it until I see otherwise. And on the flip side, Michigan State's schedule, going on a bye week. It's great. And then we're at Michigan and then home against Washington. So we're in the friendly confines of our own state, at least, for 3 weeks. That's my biggest talking point. I've got another one, but I want to hear, are you shaking yet? Did anything I say make any sense, or are you just so set on your team that, like,
It makes sense. I hear you, because this happens all the time, right? And something I hear a lot, like, hey, Jedd Fisch needs to continue to show that he can win away from Husky Stadium, win on the road. And I think that there were, you mentioned the Maryland game. That was an impressive comeback win late in the fourth quarter. The 2024 season was obviously a very different story when you think about Indiana, Penn State, and even the Rutgers game was so frustrating because Washington had so many chances to win in that game, and they kept shooting themselves in the foot. They had first and goal on the 2-yard line, didn't score. Gotcha. And that was a 3-point loss. So, and the kicker also missed 2 field goals in that game. So several different opportunities to win. The Michigan game last year was a mess. It was a disaster in every stretch of the word, as was the Wisconsin game for a lot of different reasons. One of them being, in that game, Jonah Coleman got hurt. Denzel Boston got hurt. Starting right tackle Drew Azzopardi got hurt. Starting nickelback Rashawn Clark got hurt. So there was a lot of, I don't want to just say extenuating circumstances, because that was also a 3-point loss. And Washington still had every opportunity to win that game. Damon Williams doesn't fumble inside the 10-yard line, they probably don't lose that game. But he did. And that happened. And honestly, that's one of the things that I look at going into the season and going into this conversation, this game specifically, is we've seen all of these things go wrong, and Washington was still right there in the most frustrating way possible in so many of these teams. And it's something I spoke about with Damon Williams on Locked On Huskies from Big Ten Media Day. It's something that we've had so many conversations with Jedd Fisch, with so many members of this coaching staff about. They're relying on, young talent at so many different positions. But as you said, Matt, they're returning a lot of talent along the offensive line. They're returning a lot of talent in the front seven as well, in terms of a guy like Alenius Davis, what's going on at linebacker. And they've supplemented that with more talent through the high school ranks, through the transfer portal. And so I look at those specific things and what Washington did well last year in terms of playing defense, being one of the best in the nation on that side of the ball. I think that those things are going to travel very well. And it's one of the reasons that I feel so confident in this team going into the season. Those are the things that, in terms of, especially last year, they were there, but not necessarily in the way that they are this fall. And I feel like there's some really big step forward that can be made, especially along the offensive line, that could take this team from good, solid 8-4 is in those games to winning those games.
Now, tell me if I'm wearing my tinfoil hat, if I'm just going a little too extreme here.
Ooh,
but
I like where this is going.
Still, I oddly can't get over the whole Damon Williams saga. Okay, hey, I'm returning to Washington, except I'm actually going to try to leave, and then wait a minute, no one's going to let me actually do that. Okay, hey, I'm going to come back and act like everything's just all good in this locker room. Now, I fast forward to the fall. I'm sure things are just great right now, but let's say that, there are good expectations for Washington. You said 10-2. I don't think that's too out of line, but let's say they go into Michigan State. Hey, they just got popped by Penn State for their third loss of the season. There's finger pointing. Hey, Damon, what the hell was that over the offseason anyway? I don't know. Do you feel like there's opportunity for a locker room fracture with this Damon Williams saga, or is that genuinely truly something you think that this team has already put behind them, and I'm just going too tabloid here and still sensationalizing it? I thought it was a really odd story. So I just can't
the story itself was a disaster. I'll never forget when that happened. Just like I had just finished recording like the last segment that I needed for a show, and I was like, this is gonna be great. Things are winding down for a little while. And then I took my phone off of Do Not Disturb, and I was like, oh no, this is, I think I wound up working until like 3 a.m. that night because there was so much that needed to get done. But no, that's a little far for me. And one of the reasons that I say that is this is conversations that I've had with sources in and around the program since like late February, early March. Okay. And so many of the conversations that I've had have stemmed from like, this didn't need to be, okay, this is where we are. You're offering this up. You're offering that up. Okay. This feels like just one of those things where at the end of the day, when I think about it, even if that is the case, like there are going to be fans who are always going to be mad about this. And I think that's fair, right? You can't change anybody's opinion on that specific situation, loyalty, so on, so forth, whatever. But in terms of what I've heard and what it was actually like, Damon was out of the building for like a maximum of 48 hours. So he was still there for the entirety of winter workouts, the entirety of spring practice, all of the stuff over the summer. And it's very clear that when you speak to him, he's very clearly taking that step forward as a leader, as an off-field presence who has found his voice, because it goes back to what I'm saying about these big games and some of these losses that Washington has suffered on the road. Those are the sorts of things that now, heading into his third season at Washington, his second full season as a starter, he's seen enough and he's experienced enough to be able to step up in some of those moments. And as he said to me, not necessarily need to, wait a week to feel like, okay, now I can flush this or now I can get over this. It's going to be a lot faster in that regard. And I feel like some of that is, having to just take that step as in terms of maturity over the offseason.
Right. I want you to help me build my case. I want to see what are the holes in Washington actually on the roster. But first, Roman, you need to talk to people's ears off about FanDuel really quick. So take it away, good sir. Take it away.
Oh, absolutely. Because both Locked On Huskies and Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game is someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. And there are so many guys out there who every single day feels like, all right, that dude absolutely has the possibility of going deep. Yordan Alvarez looks like he's on his way to the Triple Crown. Junior Caminero, Kyle Schwarber is one who I can never get enough of watching. Shohei Ohtani, and because I'm a Red Sox fan, I got to throw one in there. Wilson Contreras and Wilyer Abreu have both been fantastic this year. So many great options you can go check out over on FanDuel. So are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB.
Well said. Brilliantly done.
Now
I'm going to need you to stay brilliant here because I go over to the Pick Six previews. What a fantastic preview magazine, by the way, the Pick Six.
Absolutely.
Are. So they got some good stats, right? Like, hey, the Washington Huskies returning production, 69%. That's not bad. That's actually 13th best in the nation. Okay, that's a lot. And then, of course, he has the rankings of all the prediction groups within the conference. Every single position group is at least in the top 7 of the Big Ten, except for running backs. You guys rank 12th. But, man, you guys seem pretty solid and experienced across the board. So, Roman, help build my case. By the time November rolls around, is there any position that has, depth issues? Is it that running back room that you think could really be a hindrance to this team? Or what? What's the concern for you guys right now going into
there are two that I'll throw at you, Matt, and they go hand in hand. It's running back and it's wide receiver.
Okay.
And those are the two that I have the biggest questions at, where I think that the young talent at both those positions is very exciting. I look at running back and a guy like Quade Carr, who this coaching staff cannot stop talking up and cannot stop just saying, hey, that's going to be a guy for us. We really love what that guy brings to the table. However, it's inexperience, especially after losing Jonah Coleman to the NFL, losing Adam Muhammad in the transfer portal to Cal. That's still tough. And you're bringing in some veterans as well through the portal in Jaden Lamar, Trey Cooley. Those are solid players, but it's one of those things where, as we sit here and record this, they're still working their way back into the rotation at fall camp because of injuries that they suffered at their last locations that kept them out for spring practice, summer workouts, different things like that. So I'm very curious what that looks like. And then at wide receiver, it's a very similar story where Denzel Boston's off to the NFL now. So it's the same thing of, okay, you got a freshman All-American, Desmond Roebuck, but behind him, who's going to step up? And that's a big question that I have, whether it could be a guy like Rashid Williams, who was supposed to play a big role last year, but was limited to just 2 games because of injuries, or a guy like Christian Moss, who showed up through the transfer portal from Kennesaw State, also missed the majority of spring ball with a hamstring injury. He's looked really, really strong so far in fall camp, but that's, it's going to be that age-old question of, hey, he hasn't done it at the Big Ten level yet. Can he find a way to compete? And then behind that, it's youth. It's inexperience, but high-end talent. And guys like sophomore Chris Lawson, some true freshmen in Jordan Clay, Trez Davis, Mason James. The talent is there, but it's one of those things of, as we sit here right now, and, hopefully these things are figured out by the time this game rolls around, it's who is going to be those other contributors around Desmond Roebuck, and then just who is going to be that lead guy in the running back room and take some stress off of Damon Williams as a runner.
As I look at the other side of the upset coin, let's say that, no, the upset doesn't happen. It's actually Washington taking care of business. maybe not like to the tune of what you guys did a few years ago when the game was already like 49-0 at the end of the first quarter. It felt
That's what it felt like. Yeah.
Maybe it's closer this time, but nevertheless, like one issue that Michigan State has amongst a few, of course, but when I look specifically at a November game, it's a war of attrition out there, right? Like you need some depth, and Michigan State has some depth issues all around their roster, namely offensive line, defensive line, which, are those two important to win football games? I'm not sure. But what are you guys looking at over there? Like, are you guys pretty solid with depth? I imagine you have the talent, but where are you feeling better, offensive line or defensive line for your Huskies right now?
Ooh, that's a fun question because I feel fairly confident in both groups at this point in time for different reasons.
Okay, shoot. Okay.
On the offensive line, it's veteran, just returning talent, and depending on who starts at right guard, it's probably going to be sophomore champ Talialia. You're returning 1,800 plus snaps along the offensive line. If Garrett Hatchett, who's now looks like just going to be the backup rotational guy along the interior, whether that be at center, at guard, that's 2,500 snaps for you because he started every game for you last season at right guard. So there's a whole lot of talent there. And then, Matt, these guys that aren't returning, which is right tackle Dreza Party, who would have been a mid-round NFL draft pick had he left following the 2025 season, Landon Hatchett, who's got 34 games under his belt, and freshman All-American John Mills at left guard, who's on Phil Steele's preseason second-team All-American. Champ Talialia, high-end 4-star recruit who just big, strong, physical in the run game. And, at left tackle, that's 5-star freshman Cody Green, who throughout spring practice, throughout fall camp, has just looked like he belongs. So I really love the talent on that group. And then along the defensive line, it's depth, where Alenius Davis is the only returning guy from now that Taitai Uyunglele is back because of the class of 2022 ruling, you have a little bit more of that returning depth along the defensive line as well. But there's Darren Conley, Deshaun Watson, Kai McClendon, a trio of transfers that you brought in from different levels, McClendon being from Mississippi State, the other two being from lower levels. Washington really likes what those guys are going to bring to the table along the interior. On top of that, Derek Coleman-Bruce and T.I.U. Mukais, a pair of 4-star freshmen, are absolutely going to play roles. And then I look out on the edge behind a returner and senior Jacob Lane. You've got Logan George from Ohio State through the transfer portal. Isaiah Ward and Russell Davis are two guys who've been limited by injuries a little bit throughout their careers. Russell Davis hasn't suited up for a game since 2024. But in that last game, he had 3 sacks and was Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. So he's got that high-end talent, that explosiveness that you need off the edge. And then freshman is such a big part of what Jedd Fisch wants to do. You've got Ramzak Fruin, who's a guy that's been taking first-team reps at outside linebacker just since he arrived in spring ball. Now he's bigger, stronger, a little bit better in terms of the run defense to go along with being an explosive pass rusher, and a guy who just got here in June in J.D. Hill. So the reason I'm just listing name after name after name is because every time you talk to Jedd Fisch, Ryan Walters, defensive line coach Jason Kafusi, the one thing they continue to emphasize is this is the deepest group we've ever had. Like, this is a group where we can really rotate 5, 6, 7 guys and be very happy with what any of them are putting out there.
So I'm still gonna remain that MSU will pull the upset, despite hearing all that. I am scared. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna bet my entire mortgage on this to happen, but it's gonna be an odd number, like a score that you'd never seen before, like 19-15 or something.
Oh, that would be horrendous.
Nasty, disgusting.
Is that a 2 safety game, or is that 2 missed extra points though? If it's 19,
that is that's a touchdown and then a touchdown going for 2 to get to 15, and then the other team also. They got, I
was thinking 5 field goals to get to 15. Nice and easy.
And then Michigan State gets 2 touchdowns. They go for 2 twice, and they also get 3 safeties to bring them up to 22 points. So that's easy as that. Like, that seems simple. So, 22
Super
to 15
simple.
Actually is my official score. Yeah, that's
all right. All right, I like this.
Now, look, I got one more question for you about your Huskies at the other side of this break. And then if you want to know anything about my squirrely Spartans over here, ask away. But
absolutely.
Before we get there, Roman, I need to talk people's ears off. Actually, about an app I used the other day. It is the Game Time app. It is the greatest ticketing app out there. Hey, I'm going to go to the Tigers game on Monday right after the weekend. And yeah, you can save on Game Time with last-minute ticket deals. I've done that before too. Walking into Breslin Center right before tip-off. Bing, save money. But guys, you can also save money on Game Time with their flash deals that happen days, weeks, and sometimes if it's scheduled that far out, months in advance. Open up the Game Time app. Odds are you're going to find some great savings, just like I found with my seats that I will be enjoying on Monday. Now, speaking of enjoying, Roman, you know what I love the most about Game Time?
Tell me.
I'll tell you, this is how simple it is. Because when you're looking at $20 tickets on Game Time, they don't turn into $61 tickets magically out of nowhere after you've clicked 15 different buttons. No, it is the upfront cost. It is 2 taps on your phone and bam, they're sent straight to your device. It is the greatest ticketing app out there, guys. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Now, just one final question about your Huskies, and it is expectations. You say 10-2. They clearly have the roster. They have some good depth. The schedule, you're never going to get a clean break in the Big Ten, but
unless you're Penn State this year, apparently.
Yeah, no kidding. Right? Oh my God. Yeah, it's an easier schedule than the local high school down the road from me. Anyway.
Yeah, seriously.
What are they like? Is it college football playoff or bust? Can we be that fired up about it? Like, put your name on it, Roman. What do we got here, man?
So there are a lot of schools of thought here because personally, I don't think it needs to be that bold this coming year, but I think that the expectation is the building is you get there this year, and then all of a sudden with what Jedd Fisch is trying to do in terms of the depth, the sustainability, with so much of the upcoming offseason focus going to be roster retention to keep so many of these guys around. They're trying to build that into a consistent winner, and that should start this year, right? Because I look at the schedule, and no, it's not easy. At USC, Indiana at home, and then at Oregon, those final 2 being your last 2 weeks of the year. Yeah, that's difficult. But I think that this is a year where Washington can also just make that statement in terms of, hey, it was all right there for you last year, and you weren't able to live up to it in the big moments. And so getting over the hump this year is what you need to do to show that improvement, to show that, okay, yeah, we learned from these mistakes last year when we went 8-4, 9-4 with the bowl win, to continue to grow and move forward, because that's what this is all about, where when Jedd Fisch took over this program, things looked a little bit different. There were 45-ish players on the roster to the point that Matt, in spring practice in 2024, Washington didn't have enough offensive linemen for 2 full sets of team periods. So they had to put literal trash cans out there in place of offensive linemen because there were like 7 of them. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So no, it's wild. And it's really cool to see how far this team has come and done that through not just like, hey, we need to take in 1 million guys. No, it's guys that they've taken in, have competed right away and played at high levels. And so I really like where Jedd Fisch is going in terms of the player acquisition, retention, development, all that sort of stuff. And I feel like that's been proven throughout his first couple of years at Husky Stadium. Now it's doing that away from home. Now it's doing that in these big games where this can be one of those, because with where I have Washington in terms of my record prediction, I have them undefeated going into this game. My 2 losses on the schedule right now are Indiana and Oregon. And so it's continuing to show to be able to do that away from home where, even if the opponent, to quote you, my good friend Matt here, in terms of a step or 2 below, in terms of the tiers of where these programs are right now in the Big Ten, it doesn't matter. You still need to go out there and you need to do that, because that's what the Wisconsin game for you should have been last year. And that team's got a really good front 7. We know this, but that shouldn't matter. You should still find a way to go out there and win that game. And so that's kind of how I view this season of you need to show that step forward. And if it's, hey, you go 9-3, but it's, you lose the big games, you were competitive in all of them, and the ball didn't bounce your way for one way or another, is that an outcome I'd be happy with? Not necessarily, but it's something where if you're showing that improvement and you're showing, hey, we're right there in each and every one of these games, just like you were last year when the defense didn't allow more than 26 points in a game all season long, like that's exactly what you want to see. And that's one of the reasons I feel so confident in this team is that defense taking that next step forward in its second year under Ryan Walters. And that just kind of leads me into my biggest question for you, because you and I have not caught up in this setting in a while. And so one thing I'm really curious about, because I just spent so much time talking about the development of a roster and the building of a program. Right. Where do you feel Pat Fitzgerald, Michigan State are in that light right now? And where do you see that being if we're having this conversation on August 17th, 2027? That
now that is the twinkle in my eye, right? It's not
okay.
It's not this year, right? And believe me, I'm excited for football to kick off. Like, I love watching Michigan State, even though we haven't seen a bowl game since Lord knows how long. 2021 is actually the answer to that. I'm not expecting much from this year, but I am expecting a return to, and it's going to sound cliche, but I think there's substance behind it, the Michigan State culture, the Michigan State identity. We've been using the I word a lot on Locked On Spartans. Can you find an identity? Because my goodness gracious, we have not seen one in forever. And it's going to be, it's the talking points, is the physicality. It's the discipline. It's just being a run-first team, and we haven't seen really any of those lately. So can you show any substance with that in the first 12 games of the tenure under Pat Fitzgerald? And the reason why I'm really not expecting much is not because I just hate what they did in the portal. Like, they had to go out and get 30-ish players, and many of these guys came from lower levels, group of 5 FCS levels. Sure, that's all fun and well, but you can also kind of see the writing on the wall or read between the lines when Big Ten Network is over here. They're previewing the Spartans, and of course they talk glowingly about every team. And they talk glowingly about Michigan State. The energy, the culture, the focus. They're not really talking about the roster necessarily, like where they're going to Ohio State, they're going to Washington, they're going to Indiana. You're getting names. You're getting, oh man, these guys are all Americans. I think that we know what we have here. I don't think anyone's necessarily going to pop off the page. Now, could it look better than last year? Absolutely, it has to. But yeah, I'm just hoping to not just sound like I'm going to be watching 12 games hoping to find moral victories all the time, but I just want things to at least look different if they go to another season where a bowl game isn't in the cards. Can it be in the cards? Sure, it can. Six wins is gettable. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to do my official prediction episode soon. I think I'm going to upset a lot of State fans. I don't know if a bowl game is going to be in the cards this year, but can it just look different? Can it just look different, please?
So then in that same vein, what does looking different look like in terms of, especially on the offensive side of the ball? Because you know what that looks like on defense, and 100%. You talk about it, running the ball, establishing that sort of identity. What do you want to see?
We haven't been able to run the ball competently since Kenneth Walker was here. And if he wasn't here, we'd be going on nearly a decade where it seems like running the ball has been a slog. Offensive line play has really taken a dip here in East Lansing. And back in the glory days, 10-ish years ago, that was part of Michigan State's calling card. But also, it's not just stylistically, what does it look like on offense, just as a team, as a whole. And I understand how low I'm setting the bar right now, Roman, but I go back 2 years ago, first year under Jonathan Smith. We're in November, and hey, we got Rutgers, last game of the season. If we beat them, we make a bowl game, and oh, by the way, this game's at home. Yeah. All right. The team kind of laid over. It didn't really seem like anyone cared. They got railroaded 41-14 by Rutgers. And I'm not saying that all these college kids should be looking at the Game Above Sports Bowl as if it's a trip to Pasadena, but have pride. Finish out the season. I felt like, oddly enough, the last 2 years under Jonathan Smith, you couldn't get 12 games of focus. You had lapses of focus in and out of almost every game, as if these guys are playing an MLB schedule with 162 games, and you could understand how players get in a lull. No, there's only 12 of these guys. Bring the intensity, bring the focus, and play all 4 quarters in all 12 of these games. I know that sounds so simple and so routine, but State fans know what I'm talking about. It did not look like that way too often in the last 2 seasons. So when we talk about this Washington game, when we talk about what happens afterward, we play Oregon. I don't think it's going to go too well, but then, hey, who do we see again? Last game of the season, this time on the road, but it is against Rutgers. Can you show 12 games of fight, and can you go into the offseason with momentum, both how you look stylistically on the field and the culture inside the locker room? Again, I sound like a broken record. I know that is a low bar. I know it sounds cliche, but I'll be damned if I don't think that's really important for Michigan State going in year 1 under Pat Fitzgerald.
All right, then I feel like this is a great question to end on.
Let's go.
What are you most excited about for this season? To get just a little positivity flowing,
man,
just a little bit of.
Really good question. Holy smokes, that's a good one. the friends we make along the way, right? Like the
absolutely,
tailgates, the sunshine, the memories. No, I want to see Alessio Milivojevic take that step forward. Now, he was the starter in the last 4 games for Michigan State last year. If you guys over in Husky Country have no idea who I'm talking about, I understand.
I was just afraid to say his name, to be completely honest with you.
Brother, I have to repeat it to myself 50 times in the mirror before every episode. It's a tough one, but for those that didn't watch the last 4 games, I saw a high floor, okay? I saw a guy spreading the ball out. I saw a guy making quick decisions, and something that resonates with not just State fans, but all football fans. This guy showed some toughness. This guy was getting his face ran through immediately against Minnesota. 6 sacks in the first half of his first start. And, Roman, these were not just, got him tripped up by the shoelace. No, they were detonating our quarterback, and he got up every single time and kept on playing. So both leadership, the intangibles, and also what we just saw. Like, he's got a good arm. He is smart with the football. I want to see how it looks with a bigger sample size. Of course, the full course of the season and with the wide receiver room. State fans are pretty annoyed with me talking about this so much. Is very unproven. I'm not really sure who the alpha in that room is going to be, but yes, I want to see how can Alessio make it work. And then, well, hopefully, knock on wood, you never know in this day and age, he comes back for another year. Not like quarterbacks ever leave or anything, but yeah.
No, never.
I want to see. No, my God, certainly not. I just want to see how it looks and see if we can get any momentum going with the quarterback position, because that would make me smile. Something I haven't done in the fall in 5 years. So, yeah, it's a good question.
That's that. Oh man, I mean, now it's just. Now we're back on that same note, because I was like, yeah, no, I've done a lot of smiling over the last couple of years. There have been points where, super low. There have been some points where, as you know full well, it's also been super high. I'm just like, yeah, no, this is great. And sometimes I forget that there's another side of that.
Yeah, and we've been on that side far too often. But it's going to change starting this year. The building blocks will start to be laid this year, and then we'll start winning actual games the following year, I think. But we'll always remember this upset against the Washington Huskies. That's right. Folks, I'm Matt Sheehan over here. Locked On Spartans over there. Roman Tomashoff. Did I say it right this time?
You did.
Let's go. Still got it, baby. Over there, Locked On Huskies. Folks, we will be back because, this is the Locked On Network. We're doing it 5 days a week. But, guys, until then, enjoy the purple rain over there. And on my end, go green, everyone. Love you all.